I discovered my wife had been cheating with one of her longtime friends, and I decided to take drastic action. After 7 years of marriage, I found out she had been unfaithful. In mid-July, I stumbled upon text messages between them after becoming suspicious and finally deciding to check her phone. The texts I uncovered were from the day after a big argument, where they discussed their intimate moments, exchanged declarations of love, and even joked about our disagreement. She recounted things I said, and they laughed about it. I tried to reason with her, suggesting that we might simply be entering a new phase in our marriage, one where things feel a bit routine or comfortable. I believed it was normal for relationships to evolve, but she was convinced we had drifted apart. Despite spending quality time together, having meaningful conversations, and maintaining intimacy, what she didn't realize was that I already knew the truth. I had consulted a lawyer, and divorce papers were already in the works. This wasn't the first time she had cheated. The first instance happened when we were dating, and we took a 6-month break, worked through our issues, got back together, and later married. We had been fine for 6 years with no issues until about a year ago. She started to become distant, rejecting my affection, and stopped hugging me. That distance eventually led to her affair. 3 weeks have passed since I discovered her betrayal, and I've been waiting for the right moment. Initially, she seemed completely uninterested in me, but now she started acting guilt-ridden. She's been trying to make amends in her own way, cleaning, cooking, and refusing any help, almost like she's punishing herself. But despite her efforts, I can no longer trust her. She has deeply hurt me, and I don't believe she could truly love me after what she's done. Financially, we've been stable, though she has struggled since she doesn't want to work. After a year, she's finally got a part-time minimum wage job, but it barely covers her bills. I feel like I'm carrying the financial load, and it's become clear she isn't my equal. Even so, I still care about her, value the life we've built, and worry about her future. I fear she could spiral into depression, but I know the only way forward is divorce. I'm apprehensive about how she'll react, and I'm finding it difficult to let go. I almost wish she would just leave with her new partner, but I know I have to end this. The heartbreak and loneliness ahead weigh on me, and I don't know what else to expect from this situation. I have everything in place now, and the pieces are starting to fall into place. I'm planning to have her served with divorce papers in a week, but as we all know, things don't always go as planned. My soon-to-be ex-wife still has no idea that I uncovered her betrayal over a month ago and have been quietly preparing for our separation. I've been living under the same roof, acting as if nothing is amiss, and she's completely oblivious. It's honestly been tough not confronting her. I've seen her texting him multiple times and could have caught her at least 15 times by now. She never bothered to change her passwords, and she still speaks about him as though he's just a friend. Keeping my composure when she mentions him is a real challenge, but I manage. Sometimes I feel conflicted, as plotting against her like this feels morally wrong, not just toward her, but for me too, no matter who the target is. Some days, it's difficult to mask my anger toward her for what she's done. It feels like I'm stuck in some strange nightmare. We had a huge argument recently where I called her out for many of her poor decisions, without revealing that I knew everything. I told her that I no longer loved her and that I hadn't been interested in her for a long time. That was a week ago, and I've been using that argument as an excuse for my coldness ever since. So now, if I act distant or upset, she thinks it's because of that fight. I was the glue holding our relationship together, and now that I know about her infidelity, I no longer have any reason to make an effort. As a result, things between us have deteriorated. I explained all of this to her, and it seems like she's finally come to terms with the truth. After the fight, she seems to have chosen me over her affair partner. However, this isn't how things should be. She chose me when we got married, so there shouldn't even be a choice to make. Lately, she's been trying harder to show affection and communicate, but from my perspective, it's far too little, far too late. There's nothing she can do to undo the damage she's caused. She made her bed. Now she has to lie in it. Her infidelity started when she felt her position as the absolute center of my life was threatened. The attention she craved was being divided, so she sought it elsewhere instead of communicating with me. What's truly laughable is that the man she chose to have affairs with doesn't even treat her as a priority. One of them ignored her for weeks, and the other has an ex-wife and child, whom he openly told her would always come first. He's even been seen out with other women. Remember, this guy is a youth pastor, and she's not even his second priority. Despite all this, she still doesn't seem to mind. How can she be okay with that, but unable to handle me focusing on my studies? Here's the update. In response to our big argument, she decided to stay with her parents for a few weeks to clear her head. This works out perfectly for me. I no longer have to worry about her refusing to leave or causing a scene. She already has plans to return, but little does she know, I've arranged for divorce papers to be served to her the day after she arrives at her parents' house. I have a whole week to go, and it can't come soon enough. As much as I want it to be over, this also marks the last week I'll ever see my dog. It's heartbreaking, as we're very attached, but I have no way of keeping him. There are some personal circumstances I don't want to get into, but it's just not possible. I'm going to miss him deeply. Update. The papers have been delivered. She was blindsided by the news, completely devastated. I had discovered her multiple affairs a month ago, but chose not to confront her right away. Instead, I carefully planned everything to ensure the least amount of trouble for me. For the past month, I've been acting completely normal, buying her gifts, chatting with her, etc. It's been a long and exhausting month. I desperately wanted to call her out, but I held back because doing so would have complicated everything. So, I went to the gym, consulted a lawyer, drafted the divorce papers, gathered over 450 pages of explicit messages, set up a new debit account, and arranged for her to take some time at her parents' house. Everything went according to plan. I even predicted exactly how she and her family would react. Once the papers were delivered, she left with her mom, and I just gave her a hug and said, "Take care." This morning, a process server showed up at her parents' house and served her the papers. She had no idea I was aware of her actions, and neither did her parents. She was completely blindsided and reportedly hysterical. I still haven't spoken to her. Her mom called me, and I had to explain things in broad terms. Even in a situation like this, her mother is trying to solve the problems for her. It's absurd. I can't even handle my own personal relationship with my wife privately. This is a 29-year-old woman who's letting her mom mediate and speak on her behalf. Even though I had a decent relationship with my mother-in-law, who encouraged my wife to work on our marriage, I find it incredibly frustrating that they both think they can control the situation. I've handled everything with tact, maintaining composure, and keeping my emotions in check, but it's been a real struggle. My mother-in-law suggested I go pack my wife's things and drive them to her. Most of it is just t-shirts and lotions, so I told her it wasn't my responsibility. She insisted that, if I truly respected her, I should do her this favor. Not only is she meddling in our business, but she's trying to manipulate me. I told her that it had nothing to do with me and to stop trying to manipulate the situation. I made it clear that if they continued down this path, I could take the matter to court and prove her infidelity, which would cost both of us a lot of money. I could also claim theft of our dog, submit evidence to her workplace, which could get him fired from his youth pastor job, and much more. I'm trying to keep things as simple and affordable as possible, but she backed down and agreed to pick up the stuff herself. Now I just have to wait for their next move. I suspect they're trying to hire a lawyer to contest the dog ownership, though they haven't mentioned it yet. It's probably her mom telling her that having multiple affairs, dragging her husband through the mud, and still expecting love is perfectly fine. Someone mentioned she might have a borderline personality disorder based on her behavior, and I'm starting to think they're right. It's bizarre that they're so focused on these trivial belongings while completely ignoring the bigger picture. My wife is not even facing the situation head-on with me. Should I refuse to deal with her mom? Maybe, but I just want to get this over with. I hate that I might have to resort to manipulating them. I'm fed up with always being the provider for my wife and her family. I despise that I can't even have a civil conversation with her about this. It makes me sick that her mom lied to me about not knowing about the affairs. I hate how they can't seem to understand my actions, and I loathe how I instinctively think of her at the store when I see ice cream, wanting to ask her what kind she likes. Above all, I hate that, even now, I'm still painted as a villain. Update. 2 years after the divorce, a few people asked how things turned out. In short, things are good. It was a clean break, no communication, no issues. She moved on, and I moved on. It was basically an expensive breakup. The only downside is I had to give up my dog, but it seems he's still living happily with her. After the divorce, I graduated, got a job, and moved. She moved in with her parents and never left. She's working a low-paying job and hasn't done much since. She's dating someone, but that's all I know, as she blocked me. I've dated a few women, and I found someone truly special who showed me love I never knew existed, though I lost her. Now, I'm single but doing very well in my dating life. Every woman I've met has been leagues better than my ex-wife. I've got a great job and am doing well financially, while she's in her 30s, living with her retired parents. I guess I came out on top and relatively unscathed,